And this is 36, the podcast. Podcast. 36, the podcast.
What's up, Fairbanks, North Star Borough, and surrounding areas? My name is Tilden.
This is Jeff.
I'm Brandon.
And this is 36 the podcast. We have a special treat for you today. Now, so I'm going to preface this interview by saying this right here. Do you guys is there anybody that you guys have ever come across and you say, that could be my bro? That could be my bro. Well, 2018, I arrived in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I'm searching for music radio stations. I've come across this station, 98.1 KWOLF, and there were two people on the radio at that time. Well, there was more, but two in particular, VMAX and Man at Large. Man at Large isn't here right now, but I'm like, that needs to be my bro. And then VMAX, boom, first off, he needs to be my bro too. So, special guest, none other than the radio DJ host from 98.1 KWOLF, VMAX. Ken, how do you correctly say your last name, sir?
Vehmeier.
Vehmeier, Ken Vehmeier, VMAX for short. And he is our special guest today, and we have a couple of questions that we're gonna throw his way. But prior to getting into the meat and potatoes, as we do every Saturday, for the noon tap, we have a taste test of today's pour. Today's pour happens to be, it's a brut IPA, and it's conditioned on the zest and juice from 5 grapefruits. So, everybody, go ahead and taste up and collect your thoughts. And I have, this is my last Saturday on my purge. So starting on 1 July, I'm gonna reintroduce beer back into my diet. I don't know if you want to say diet, but I'm gonna reintroduce beer. Everything else I'm gonna keep the same, but I am gonna reintroduce beer. But I am gonna stick to being disciplined and say no alcohol for a month. So on that note, Ken, are you a beer drinker?
Not a lot of beer. Growing up a little more, I used to playing softball. We drank a lot of beer on Thursdays and Saturdays.
Okay.
Playing softball. I kind of moved into lighter drink, a little more lighter fare.
Yeah.
Not so filling, you know.
Yeah.
You may laugh and see me with a White Claw or a Truly.
It's all good.
But I kind of like my vodka lemonade, especially in the summertime.
Well, yeah, look here, don't feel bad. I'm a Miller Lite guy. I'm a Miller Lite or Michelob Ultra guy, and a lot of people give me slack about that. But you know what, look here, mind your business.
No, but this is perfect for me. So when I go someplace, I ask them for the first thing like I ask them,
yes.
What's your lightest and what's your fruitiest beer?
Yes, okay.
And they tapped it today.
And so you're liking that IPA?
Yeah, it's light, it's refreshing, and it doesn't feel like I'm going to get filled up and bloated because I got a lot of stuff to do today.
Got you. Okay, Brandon, what you think?
It's pretty good. A lot of grapefruit. Don't really taste a lot of the brut IPA. You got a hint of the bitters. I feel like this is something I could take a 6-pack to the beach and drink it all day long.
Okay.
100%.
All right, Jeff, what you got?
Well, I mean, the brut IPA doesn't have a lot of bitter to it. It's about half the bitter American IPA is, and you can definitely taste the grapefruit in this one.
Okay, all right then, good deal. Well, so I guess we have the general consensus is this is another hit. So let's go ahead. Kudos to the Hoodoo Brew Crew back there.
This
Cook
could
it
go
up magic.
This could go in the category of panty dropper.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
All right. That's a new, that's a good one too. Oh, that's a good one. All right. So without further ado, let's get to what we came here for. And so before we get into the interview, if you're listening to this on our usual podcast channels, you can also check us out on our video podcast version, which is over on YouTube. So you're going to search 36 the podcast over on YouTube, and you will be able to find this video posted if you want to look at us instead of listen to us. So on that note, I've got the first question. Ken, are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
All right. So what's the energy like hosting a hit music station in a unique place like Fairbanks, Alaska?
It's exciting. I love going to work every day. There's never been a day I've gotten out of bed and go, man, I have to go to work today. And I've had every job that I've done that. Just so people know, I've commercial fished, I've worked in canneries, I've done construction, I was a forest firefighter, I was a truck driver, I did grocery and retail. So I've done a lot of other jobs just so people don't think, oh, he's just talked all his life. No, I've done it all. So I'm a normal person.
Oh, wow. You've had a lot of jobs.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Well, we're going to save that part for the freestyle segue portion, second portion of the show, because I've got some additional questions for you too.
But as far as the energy goes, you know what? It's top 40 music. It's upbeat. You got to kind of bring that attitude with it.
Yeah.
But I've also got to be authentic, because if you try to be somebody different on the air,
right,
and then you meet people and you're not that person, like talk in your radio voice,
right.
So I have found that you've got to be who you are. So when you hear me on the radio, that's who I am, and that's who you're going to meet.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So you mentioned you had a lot of jobs previously. So what was it that brought you into radio? I mean, did you want to be DJ before you became one, or?
I always knew that I would be in radio. I was that kid recording Casey Kasem on American Top 40, recording songs on my cassette player and listening to the radio all the time. And it's just something that, and I've talked to so many radio people, that it's in our blood and we just know it. And the way I actually got into radio was, we have a student station at the university, it's KSUA. And I used to win prizes all the time, and I'd go pick up prizes, and I was what we call a prize pig. So I would win prizes, and I would keep going up there all the time, and they go, why don't you just work here? And that opened the door, and I haven't looked back.
Very nice.
So, what would you say are the top 3 songs you're listening to on KWOLF 98?
It's different now because the music changes a lot. So right now, country format has taken over everything. So we have a ton of country artists on the station now. We play a lot of alternative artists on the station right now. And, people used to be like, oh, KWOLF just plays rap. That's all they play is rap. And I would be like, you'd be hard pressed to find, in an hour, 2 rap songs.
Right.
But as far as you're saying for the people, what the people want to listen to, or just on the charts?
What do you think the top 3 that your listeners like to listen to?
I thought about that and I wrote it down, and it moves all over the place. But right now, Doechii is on fire with Anxiety.
Yeah.
And that's a song everybody can relate to. And that other one about her in therapy.
Yeah.
Sabrina Carpenter, you can't go wrong with Sabrina Carpenter.
Right.
Everybody is on the Sabrina boat. And with that girl, she dirty.
Yeah, she is.
She dirty.
Yeah.
If you listen to the unedited songs,
she is.
Did you see her Christmas special?
I did. I'm like, whoa, wait.
I know.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, wait.
So,
and so she's taking a lot of slack over her latest album cover as well, too.
Yes.
I'm like, because I looked at it, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah.
So, and that comes back to Britney days and Christina and Christina, because I've been in radio through all that. And just another song right now, Lola Young and Messy. That one hits out. That is so much about being in a relationship with a narcissist. But, these songs have meanings, but they also sound good. And so a lot of people don't even know the meaning of the lyrics. They're just enjoying the beat. So I would say like Lola Young right now. And there's a new guy on the scene, Somber. He's got a new song out called Undressed.
Yeah.
Dude, it's fire.
Oh, wow.
It is fire.
Nice.
I'm sure I know those songs if I heard them, but just from what you said, I couldn't think of any of those songs.
And it's tough because, like a lot of people say, what's your favorite song or your favorite artist? There's no way I can pinpoint that, and I'll hear a song because I'm in the studio all day long and I'm hearing the music all the time.
Yeah.
And, if my foot's tapping, if it's making me move, I know it sounds good. And as a radio guy, I listen to every station and I pick things out that I really like, So we have a critique ear, whatever profession you're in, you're going to pick up things like that too.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I listen to 98.1 every morning on my way to work, going to lunch, on my way home. I even have the app. So when I'm in Anchorage sometimes, if I can't find a radio station that's another, this is a segue too, and we're going to talk about that later because when I'm in Anchorage, I hear you too, but we're going to talk about that later. But when the radio stations in Anchorage just aren't doing it for me, I pop in the 98.1, put it in my Apple CarPlay, and boom, I'm just right back in Fairbanks. So having said that, how do you keep things fresh every day, and especially during these long winter, these long Alaska winter nights or winter days?
And that's the biggest challenge because, you think about when you get up in the morning, how much energy do you have at 6 o'clock in the morning? It's like how much coffee you need to get moving, get flowing, so you got to just be thinking about people driving on the roads because that's our biggest listenership is people going to work, they're up, and they're listening. And so I don't overdo it. Right. I let the music do what it needs to do, but I'm going to bring you something that's our job. I always take as radio DJs, radio personalities is to inform, entertain, engage, and relate.
Yes.
So if I can do those things, and it's not all going to be in one break, and if I can entertain and make you laugh, because when you get up in the morning, if something makes you chuckle, it turns your day around. If you got up and you had something chirping on your shoulder or whatever, and you're angry no matter what, and then all of a sudden it may have changed your mood, because I know people don't click the radio on as soon as they get out of bed. Right. They're driving to work. And for us, a lot of it, in the wintertime, your kids are in the cars. So I'm not a shock jock. Okay, so segue real quick, though, with what you just said. So my alarm clock, when it goes off in the morning at 5:30, 98.1 is like, it wakes me up. Boom. So yeah, some of us do, right? Wake up in the morning.
I mean, for the older generation still has their clock radios. Yeah. Most people anymore, they use their cell phone for everything.
Yeah.
Their wake-up alarm.
Yeah.
Their clock.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that is true.
I'm thinking the smartphone is what killed off clock radios.
Right.
Well, look here, I still have my clock radio.
And we appreciate that.
Mine's 30-some years old. 32 years old, and some of the functions don't work on it anymore.
Yeah,
they just stopped.
Yeah. Do they even have them in hotel rooms anymore? Now they just have a
They have alarm clocks.
Yeah, they have alarm clocks. Yeah, they have alarm clocks. Yeah, but so I've got the Bose, the little Bose alarm clock, CD player thing.
Right.
There's no longer CDs in it, but I still use the alarm clock function to wake up to 98.1 KWOLF.
Nice plug.
Radio is the best way to find out if a song is overplayed.
Yeah.
Because way back when we were in high school, my brother had his clock radio, and for a week straight, he was getting woken up to Indian Outlaw.
Oh, wow.
And he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to change the channel now.
Well, so I was going to say that at some point here, our job in radio, we know we've done our job when you hate the song that you used to love. Because you love that song, you couldn't get enough of it, and then about a month later, you're like, man, that's all I hear. I can't stand it no more. So we did our job.
All right, so have you ever had a live on-air moment go completely sideways?
I thought about that one there. I will say this, so when I got my start, it was up at the University at KSUA. And that was, 30 years ago, just so we can preface that. So back then, what we were doing up there, everything was live. We didn't have syndication. We didn't have recordings. We were live. And so when I started, I was on like a 7 to midnight shift. And so when I say we were live, what was going on there was going on there. And we used to party in the studio. We would have friends come up and we would throw some parties up there. and what happened in the back room tries to stay in the back room. So there was just some moments that we were, say, called into the program director's office. Someone might have let something slip. Someone was a little loud in the background. But that was what people, you know, WKRP in Cincinnati, people got an idea that's what radio was. Man, for us and Clenner and Jerry and a bunch of guys that I've grown up with, you know, were my radio idols, that KSUA,
Yeah.
the stories up there were all sideways, all upside down, but that broke us in. I mean, when we were putting a song in,
Yeah.
we were putting the CD in and playing it and waiting for it to end. And that's when I learned really how to mix, because I'm a mobile DJ guy, so I've done weddings for 30 years and doing the nanos and everything. And so you really had to learn to mix the music, the imaging, and the commercials and talking. So,
Yeah.
you know, while doing it, while probably having a few of these.
Exactly. Exactly. More than 36 ounces, I'm assuming.
It's just depended on various nights, you know. But one thing I will say, so the one that I wrote down that I remember the most, I was getting ready to come in for my shift, and one of my buddies was on before me, and he was playing Metallica, and we had it cranked in the studio, you know, and I was fired up, ready to go, and I was going, and I spun around, and all of a sudden my hand went through the pane glass window. A piece of glass ended up sticking through my hand, and there may have been the you know what on the air, but we were a college station, so we were a little exempt to some of the FCC rules. But I looked and I noticed, I was like, and it's just gushing blood down here. I mean, it was a shard that, you know, came into a spear, so it's like this and sticking out.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I think I'm going to have to stay on the air a little bit longer. And luckily, the UAF police and fire department is right across the street. So I called them over and they wrapped me up, kept the glass in it, got an ambulance from them, gave me a ride to the hospital.
Yeah.
They took it out, stitched me up. I was on the air in an hour.
That's impressive.
That's one of the best moments ever.
Ouch.
That I don't ever want to repeat.
No doubt. No doubt.
So what's one thing about being a radio DJ that you think a lot of people don't know about?
I think what they don't realize is that we are normal people.
Yep.
And we bleed like you, we hurt like you. And this question almost makes me cry, but you know, when I had to go on the air the morning after my dad died,
Yeah.
dude, the hardest thing ever.
Right.
When friends die, when friends pass, when things happen in our community, when we lose people, you know, and people lose homes and stuff, we hurt and we bleed. So I've learned that, you know, and with us, we have the power of recording like you do and fixing things.
Right.
And so there's sometimes that I would do a break live and I would just keep it, or sometimes I try to record it to really bring the feeling to it. But
Right.
what people really need to realize is that they expect us to be happy all the time, and nobody is. We go through the same emotions, you know. I mean, I just remember, you know, I've raised my kids all up and going to their school functions and, you know, being proud of your kids, you know. So you just have to remember that we're your neighbor.
Right. Right.
We're not you hear our voice,
Right.
you know, and we're just like you.
Right.
We're just like you, and, you know, when things happen, we have to bring the news. And I've done devastating news stories that have just, I mean, rocked me to my core.
Right.
So just when you hear us, you know, and sometimes we can get through it, sometimes we can't, but we're normal people. And one of the other things I always like to tell people is like, we take heat from people because people feel that they can tell us that our music sucks or what you did stinks. And they just feel free to tell you that. And I'm like going, am I going to come to your job and walk in there and you're wrenching on something? I go, you know what? You don't know how to turn that thing. And man, you just fixed that carburetor, the worst I've ever seen. So, you know, we're real people. And, you know, when you say stuff to us,
Yeah.
it's like saying it to your friend.
Exactly. Exactly.
DJ's feelings matter too.
They really do.
100%.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to spread that word, Tilden.
Exactly. Well, I mean, so I think you just spread it, sir. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you are in a unique position. You are in a position to provide opportunity. And so I always stress to people, if you're in a position to provide anybody an opportunity to exceed or excel, do so. Having said that, do any local artists ever reach out to you? This is a two-part question. Do any local artists ever reach out to you?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay.
And I encourage that. I say it on the air. If you have music, let me hear it. When I started the 5 o'clock Traffic Jam remix, the first thing I did was reach out to all my DJ buddies in this town, not radio DJs, but DJs. And I said, give me some mixes.
Right.
I want to play. So we used to do, it was like a 5 o'clock top 5 at 5.
Right.
And that just ran its course. And I said, you know what? We're going to bring some energy and remix all this stuff and old school and everything. But I reached out to all my friends who are DJs. Send me a remix. I had 2 people do it twice.
Oh, really?
Okay. If you're serious about it, the door's open.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep knocking on your door. My door's open. You got to do it.
Right.
Local artist. I got to shout out Red.
Yep.
Tony Taylor,
Yep.
Lex the Siren. There's been many others. Rootsy Soul.
Oh, yes.
These guys tonight
Yes.
at the Midnight Sun Music Festival, they're going to blow your mind.
Yes.
But yes, they
Those
reach
guys
out
are
to me.
awesome.
And, you know, the process with that is the first thing, they reach out to me, tell me that they got a song, and hey, what do I need to do to get it on the air? I said, the first thing you need to do is send me a clean, edited version
Right.
so I can play it on the air.
Okay.
And if you can't do that, you're not going to get any airplay.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
it's up to you to do that. If you want to promote your music, okay, because if you listen to our station, we have FCC rules.
Yeah,
Okay, and my number one thing is I do not do derogatory songs.
Right.
There's no swear words. There's a little more these days,
Yeah,
you know, and a lot of things rhyme.
Right.
But if you're serious about it, you got to have a clean song.
Got you.
Okay.
Okay.
If they can't send me that, you're not going to get played.
Got you. Got you. Okay. So part 2 of my question, do you think Fairbanks has a growing music scene?
It does, and I have played a bunch of music with Red.
Okay.
You know, and he's also a promoter, so he's busy in that realm as well.
Right.
And Red has been great because he's probably got, 7, 8, 10 albums to his name, and he's got his own label and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Taylor's, I've played 3 of his songs
Yes.
in rotation, and I've got a
Yes.
special rotator that, like I told him, I said, hey, your song will hit once about every 7 days. I can't tell you what time because it's always different.
Yes.
Lex the Siren,
Yes.
she's great.
Yes.
She's
yes.
great.
Yes.
You
yes,
know?
they are. Yes,
And-
they are. They all are.
Yeah, and I hope big things for them, they are out there working
Yeah.
and working, so
Yeah.
reaching out to me, and I hope they reach out to other radio stations. I know they reach out to KFAT down in Anchorage, is a good source.
Yes.
It's tough though, because we have rules and I have we have consultants that we talk to every week about what music we add, what we take away, how
Yeah.
often it plays, things like that. So I have to be able to tell them, hey, I'm going to put this in here. But on the morning show, I can get to do what I want to do. So if I want to bring that artist in and we can talk about that song and play
Yeah.
that song, I'm all about it.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Good deal. Good deal.
Okay. So, how do you balance the big chart toppers with giving airtime to newer up and coming artists?
So I always like to tell people, because people have a lot to say, and they're always like, you guys play the same songs over and over and over again. So basically, our demographic for KWOLF 98.1, we target 18 to 34-year-old females. You look at me, I'm well out of that demographic.
Yeah.
I was in it, but I wasn't a female. But I still love all kinds of music. So I tell people that what you hear on KWOLF is what you're going to hear on any top 40 station in Los Angeles, in New York City. You're going to hear those hits. So we have a thing called Media Base, and that basically kind of sets the charts, and that sets what American Top 40, how they chart those, okay? Some of it, artists pay a lot. iHeart has a lot of money coming in by artists to pay to get those songs played.
Right.
So there's a lot of different things. The last couple years, we've got streaming access to what Fairbanks is actually streaming. So we're playing right now about 6 songs that are not on the national charts, but they are in the top 30 on the Fairbanks streaming charts because we're local. So, and they're going to break, they're going to break. If they fall off that and they don't make it, then they just fall off the station.
Right.
But so it's kind of like breaking new music and what we know people are listening to here because, we got access to Spotify charts, iTunes, and a couple other things. So it'll show up weekly. We check every Monday. I check that chart, media base, and then decide where the songs go in the different categories in rotation. You know, in our top rotator, we've got 7 songs. But when people say you play the same songs over and over, no songs will ever repeat in 90 minutes of when they played before. So you will not hear that song, say Messi plays. You won't hear it in 90 minutes. Okay? The computer program doesn't allow it. If it does, it's breaking a rule and it tells us.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of science behind it so that, you know, and it's tough. Because I've got 4 Sabrina Carpenter songs on, but I am not playing the same artist twice in an hour.
Gotcha. Okay, now so this isn't like the good old days to where you could call into your radio DJ and do instant on-air live requests anymore. So is it like that still or not?
Oh yeah, you can do that in the morning. If you call me up, you know, and you say, hey, I want to hear this song, I will be honest with you. I say, look, I just played that 10 minutes ago. Because they may have just got in their car.
Gotcha.
And they didn't hear it, but I'm like, look, I just played it. And I always say, you want something else.
Right.
And usually they will, because I don't want to shut anybody down. I encourage them to call and engage with us.
Okay.
And I like when they call in something, you know, that's a little old school. I'll get some bizarre request. Someone can you play the Doobie Brothers? And I love the Doobie Brothers, but I'm like...
Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, but I'm kind of like... And sometimes, you know, because right now all of our music is on a database. It's in a computer thing, so I don't have access to be able to put a CD in, you know. And then if I want to download it, I have to go through different things of downloading it, putting it into the system to play back out over the air. But, you know, if they call it a birthday request, some people just call in something just to challenge us to see if I'm going to play it. And I'm honest with them. I'm like, I can't play that one, you know.
Well, yeah, man, because you shut me down one day when I texted you. I was like, bro, can you, because that was me trying to relive my summer mini truck cruising days.
He had a song, and I just didn't have it in the system. Summertime. I will get that on next week for you. Send me that again.
Dino, summertime, summer girls.
You guys remember Dino?
Summer girls.
Really?
No.
Yeah, Summer Girls. Summer Girls. Summer Girls is LFO. That's that 90s alternative hit. Summer Girls. You might remember that one more.
The only LFO songs I'm familiar with are definitely not Summertime.
So to finish that question is we do a lot of research, and there is a method behind what we're doing, you know, and chart toppers, that's what we do, you know, that's what we play. And again, our listenership is what we strive for is to have you listen for 7 minutes.
Yes.
If I have you for 7 minutes, that's 2 songs, but more importantly, 4 commercials.
Yeah,
because we are there for our advertisers, just so everybody knows. That's why we're
minutes. That's like one Metallica song.
Yeah,
one.
And it is, and that's the philosophy with all of our stations, because we have 8 here in Fairbanks and 2 in Anchorage.
Yes.
So we have all genres of music. You know, a classic rock's going to be a lot longer because people have that, you know, all the time. So we know that a truck shop, mechanics place is going to have 96.9 The River on. You know, they might have X-Rock on, you know. Other places, dentist office, I walk into my doctor's office, they rotate. It'll be Ted one day, and Ted is great. I love Ted.
Yeah.
Or Chet. Then all of a sudden I walk in there, they got 96.9 The River on.
Yeah.
Then I'll walk in and then I'm on talking. So it's just, you know, we love when we walk into a business and it's one of our stations because they feel safe enough with us that they can play us.
Yeah.
And no matter if somebody walks in to their place of business, they're not going to be offended.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
And that's the big thing, you know. And like I said, our station, I know that I have kids in the cars with moms and dads going to school. That's why I do Abby's Joke of the Day every day at 8:07 a.m. because those are kids are getting dropped off at elementary school.
Right.
And they take that joke inside with them.
Exactly.
So what's what is your favorite part about engaging with your listeners, whether it be on the air or on social media or even live in person at an event or something like that?
I've seen a lot of people come out of shells. A lot of it, people bring their kids.
Yeah.
And now what I get, and the kids are honest. Don't ever ask a kid a question if you don't want an honest answer. But I've had kids come up and go, You're a lot older than I thought you were going to be. Because all I am is a voice. They don't know. I don't promote my face. I'm on our website and stuff, so a lot of people have not met me. I've heard, I thought you were going to be a lot taller. Someone said, I could have swore you were Hispanic. And I'm just like, okay. And I love it all. But I really love meeting people's kids and being able to give them a sticker or a shirt. Or we used to do these huge promotions, 98 Days of Summer. We gave away cars, and so you had to follow us around and you collected KWOLF cash. At the end of the summer, man, you bring all that cash, we'd have a big party, and it was an auction, and then we would have paddle boards, and then we would give away like our KWOLF cruiser. Somebody was able to buy that with fake money. So I have really gotten to know people because they would come to every single event, and I've met a family that they gave me engraved baleen, and they brought muck-tuck to this station and let us eat muck-tuck on the air. So they have become really close friends of mine, It's kind of like I met you through radio, And I was last year Midnight Sun Run. At a Midnight Sun party, I had 6 dudes come up, and they're in their mid-20s. And they're like, you're VMAX? And they had never met me, but they all sat and talked to me for 30 minutes, and they're like, we grew up with you. We've never seen you. You're him. You're here. And it was just kind of like, I'm just like you. And they were just like, we grew up with you. We love that. So it's kind of been a whole cycle of things. But, with that said, sometimes there's some entitlement out there sometimes. And some of the things people say will just absolutely blow your mind. And the things that they will tell you about what's going on in their life. I've heard about goiters and kidney stones and divorces. I'm not even kidding. I am not kidding.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you've got to be like, you're everybody's friend. Like, that's my friend. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my bro.
And but if you do get offensive, I will stop you. And I will stop because I'm not gonna play like I have to be nice for something, but I'm just gonna be like, hey, thanks for coming out to our thing. Keep on moving. But I've seen French kids, little that used to be so shy, and now anywhere I go, next thing I know, they will run up to me and they're in my arms, and their parents are okay with that, and I'm good with that too.
Okay, good
awesome.
deal. No doubt. Okay, so I've got one more question for the formal portion of our interview. Part 2 of our interview, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we like to call it our freestyle segue portion, and we're just going to come up with some questions just off the cuff that we thought about while we were doing the formal interview.
Okay.
All right. So on that note, last question for you. If you could have any artist, pop, R&B, rock, whatever, if you could have any artist visit Fairbanks and drop by the studio, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
This is easy for me because it's hands down. It's lead singer of Shinedown, Brent Smith.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, there's a story behind it. So in February, I was in Mexico. And so just so that people know that listen to Man at Large, as you listen to Man at Large, he is now in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yes.
But he is on our radio station here in Fairbanks. He used to live in Fairbanks, but the technology, we still have him here. So he knows this town. Okay. So Shinedown was going to be in Little Rock, Arkansas. Large knows that Shinedown is one of my top 2 bands. Okay. Loved him forever. I was walking the beach in Estapa, Mexico. Large calls me on my phone. I'm like, hey, what's up? He goes, I got someone I want you to talk to. And he hands the phone. He's like, yo, VMAX, Brent Smith, lead singer of Shinedown. And I'm like, get the you-know-what out of here. You kidding me right now? And he's like, no, what's happening? I was like, dude, I'm like walking the beach in Mexico right now. He goes, I hear the waves crashing. And he goes, hey, man, I just wanted to reach out. He goes, Large told me, you're a big fan and that you love our music. And we talked for like 10 minutes. And he goes, okay, now you got to come down here. You're going to come down here. I was like, I'm going to. So, in May 2024, I turned 60, so it was a huge year. I always make, when I hit 40, 50, and 60, I mean, it's a year celebration. We go nuts. So I started out my 60th year, saw the Stones in Seattle on my birthday when I turned 60.
Nice.
And I wrapped it up. I saw Shinedown in Little Rock, Arkansas, May 24th. My birthday's May 20th, so I was pretty close.
Nice.
Cool thing was they had a radio room, and you've done meet and greets with artists, it's kind of like, take a picture, shake a hand, and you're done. We're in this radio room. They're going to help yourself to whatever you want. In the cooler, there was a ping pong table. There was a shuffleboard table. Next thing you know, Brent Smith come walking in, and lead guitarist Zach comes walking in, and they just, hey, what's happening? And then I met Brent, and I was like, he talked to me in Mexico. It was Vehmeier, and he knew my name without me telling him. So it was just cool because they're like down to earth people. They were no better, no different. They had no ego or anything. And they actually hung out in this room with us for 20 minutes. I played ping pong with the lead guitarist Shinedown. I played shuffleboard with his 9-year-old kid, and they had a Papa Shot, and his kid was hustling me. So, with him, the reason I like them so much is their story really resonates and their music resonates with me because they battled addiction. They've overcome a lot of things in their lives. They were a huge part of Jelly Roll changing his life.
Oh, wow.
They started Jelly Roll on his fitness plan that he's on. So if I could get them up here, man, I would take him in a heartbeat. I would get Brent on the station, and I would just have him give a story of inspiration.
Yeah.
And that's just the big thing, and I would do it with Jelly Roll as well.
Oh, wow.
That guy is so inspiring. I mean, he was locked up. That guy was expected to go away for life, and look at him now.
Exactly.
So, that's a hands down. And I've met a lot of people, so I've never been, like, starstruck, by people, because I feel blessed that I've been able to meet these people, but I also treat them like I would treat you at the store, so I'm like, but I'm just, there is sometimes inside going, I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Yeah. World and they beat Alice Cooper.
Oh, yeah. And, it's funny you bring Wayne's World up because I've always used Wayne's World to where I don't want to be that guy. You remember when they finally got to meet the guy they listened to on the radio? And it was almost like meeting the Wizard of Oz. It was some little guy with, and they're just like, that's you? So Wayne's World is a great radio story movie.
Okay. All right. So if you guys are still with us, we know that you have enjoyed the show thus far, but we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to get into the freestyle segue portion, and that'll be it. So stay tuned. How you guys doing? If you're still with us, welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Vmax. And so this is going to be the freestyle segue portion, and just off the cuff questions that we had pop up during the interview. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Jeff start this one off.
Okay, so when we first started the podcast, I was like, okay, we're going to get this person and this person and this person, get Vmax. I'm like, you want to interview a motorcycle? Because Yamaha made a motorcycle until about 2020 called the Vmax, and thanks to some research by Brandon here, they also made a snow machine for that period of time. I'm like, did you own either one, or how exactly did you come up with the Vmax?
I always say I wish I had a grand story of how I got my name. So my name is Ken Vehmeier, okay? And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sell. So when I first got into radio, I was like, all right, I got to come up with a radio name. So me and a bunch of my buddies were sitting around, of course, Friday night, having a couple brews, we're like, come on, we got to come up with a name. So my one buddy's like, okay, V, and he's like, he kind of maxed things out a lot, because when I was younger, I was out of control a little bit. That's why I celebrate my big birthdays the way that I do, because when I was young, I thought 40, 50, 60, no way. So I've made those. So he just all of a sudden, he goes, V-M-A-X. He goes, you're Vmax. I was like, dude, that just hits. It hits right. I'm like, now I got a sign, and I go, I don't have to trademark it. And I go, it's going to be a motorcycle, be a snow machine. And I go, it just stuck. Yeah, and so then I came up with my morning show. I was like, Maximum Mornings with Vmax. Yeah. And I got my voice guy. He's like, maximum moron, maximum idiot, maximum chaos, so it just hit. So that's my story, but it's like every story. Sitting around with a bunch of bros, having a couple beers, stuff happens.
Okay, good deal.
So that's where it came from.
All right, good deal.
So earlier you were talking about the FCC?
FCC, Federal Communications Corporation.
Okay, and the regulations, rules, laws, whatever. So just like a lot of states have weird laws, is there any odd or just senseless rule that the FCC has that some of you DJs, it's like, why? Why do we have to follow this rule?
You know, the main ones are just don't swear. You know, you can't swear. It's kind of lightened up, but you may drive around because some people are going, I heard some dude just rapping and just spitting and cussing. You can get your own radio station that will broadcast in about a mile radius. Okay, so you're not going to have to be FCC licensed. So you may be driving down Pega Road, and if you just all of a sudden hear it and scan, if they're on, there's kind of a little rap station there.
Oh,
So
really?
like when you see the Christmas lights shows, that people do the Christmas light shows at their house, so they got a show going,
Yeah.
and then it says tune to 1025 or whatever, 1027.
Yeah.
You tune in there, they've got their own little transmitter, they got their own little thing, so you can tune into their station. It'll play the music that coincides with their Christmas light show.
Okay. So there's no real like crazy rules. They probably don't even have a lot of rules.
FCC rules more is like we have to, or you know, so KWOLF, we are KWLF. Every radio station has call letters, like
Right.
X Rock is KXLR,
Yeah.
KISS is KYSC. So that's your radio spot. You have to say your radio call letters at the top of every hour. It's your legal ID. You have to do that. FCC rules, there's probably a whole bunch of other ones that don't affect us day-to-day operations. But as far as, you know, advertisers, when it comes to politicals,
Yeah.
we have so many rules for political things because political season becomes really, really crazy.
Right,
And for us, as much as you hate political advertising and the people coming to your door and the mailers and everything,
Yeah.
and all the ads, we're just like you. But I got to tell you, without that, we may be out of a job.
Right.
And that's the case in point right there when people say no one listens to the radio anymore.
Right.
Okay, so on KWOLF, we have 3 commercial breaks an hour. We're normally averaging about 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
We bump them up to 7 minutes each
Oh, wow.
an hour just because there's so many.
Right.
And we're not going to say no to that money.
Yeah, exactly.
They're paying full. They're paying full rate. Full rate. We give everybody else deals. What normally, just so people know, so like on the morning show, 30-second commercial, that'll cost somebody $30. Okay.
Oh, wow.
We work out things where we can get it down to affordable, so that'd be a $12 ad, you know, for our local businesses.
Yeah.
We get into politicals, you're gonna pay $100 for each time
Oh, wow.
that runs.
Yeah.
And that person is saying that on 7-8 stations, hour after hour after hour. So it just that adds up quick,
Yeah.
just because so people kind of get at the idea that there's money in that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, so you're out and about all over the place. What do you do for fun outside of radio?
Oh man, I'm blessed to be able to be in a career that has opened up doors to me. So for me, my fun is radio's opened up the door in sports broadcasting, in sports announcing, in sports DJing. So you go to a Nanook hockey game, I'm the voice of the Nanooks, I'm playing the music at the Nanook hockey games. I've never missed a Nanook hockey game in 18 seasons.
Oh, wow.
Never missed one. And now I'm the play-by-play guy for Nanook volleyball, Nanook men and women's basketball. I do high school sports on our ESPN radio station. Football, basketball, hockey, baseball, fast pitch softball. I work for an organization called the NFHS Network. It's the National Federation of High School Sports. They broadcast every high school sports championship, all 50 states. So my biggest run is I go down to Anchorage 2 weeks for the state basketball tournament, 1A, 2A. That is small schools is 1A. I mean, there are so many small schools in this state of Alaska from Utqiagvik. I mean, that's Barrow, but there are 3A. So you think
Oh, wow.
Point Hope, and you think Fort Yukon, Tri-Valley, Sand Point, things like that. So in the course of 2 weeks, each tournament's a 4-day tournament. I'll do 8 games a day. You know, I'll do 56 basketball games in 8 days. So,
But that's what you do for fun?
well, that's fun. That's just something that opens the door. No, for fun, I jet ski, I snowboard, I love riding mountain bikes. We've got amazing mountain bike trails around here. I hang out with my friends. My family's super important. My daughter's here, so you know, anytime I can. She's grown now. She's 24, flourishing in real estate here. So I love spending time with her. But you know, and there's sometimes I just like to sit home and do nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
That can be fun. But I'm an avid, I go to spin class all the time, as you know, and I tell everybody, go to spin class. It'll change your life. It's super fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best workout you'll ever have and the most fun you'll ever have at the same time. So I'm outside a lot, but my biggest passion is fly fishing.
Got you.
So I think I'm going to go to Upper Chino right after this.
Nice. So you've been doing radio a lot for a long time, right? I didn't catch how long. What was it?
Now I've been full time with our radio group for about 25 years.
Yeah,
but
so my question is, as cars and radio, or sorry, back up. You said most of your listeners are from people who drive, right? So with newer advancements in radios and cars, people being able to connect their phones, just stream from their phone. Do you feel that's impacted how many listeners you actually get?
It does. We used to think that, when Sirius radio came out, everybody thought, oh, Sirius is going to be the death of radio. And I always just tell people, I said, okay, if nobody listens to the radio, why do they put a radio in your car?
Right.
If they're just going to let you do it off your phone, because basically cars now are rolling computers.
Mm-hmm.
And you can stream, you can hit the buttons, and there's all those options.
Right.
But the option for the radio is right there.
Right.
So for the people that know, especially in a small community like ours,
Mm-hmm.
Our thing is we're live and we're local. Okay, sure, we want to hit on things that the pop artists are doing and what's going on, but our focus is Fairbanks, Alaska.
Right.
Okay, you're not going to hear about the Midnight Sun Music Festival. You're not going to hear about Hoodoo Brewing Company. You're not going to hear about the Golden Days Parade. You're not going to hear about solstice events anyplace else. iHeart is a national conglomerate, and I have friends that work for them, and I love that that's part of radio.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to know what's going on in Fairbanks,
Right.
tune into your local radio stations.
Right.
You're going to hear it, So if you're not going to hear it there, we're going to put it on our social media channels as well. But I've always just go back to, if people aren't listening to the radio, why do they put radios in new cars?
Right.
It's a case of, when you're in town, you listen to the radio because otherwise you don't know what's going on. Like you said, you're not going to hear about the Sun Festival or
Right.
Festival or anything. Right? When I was living down in El Paso, if I didn't listen to the radio, I would miss getting to see Megadeth concert for free.
Right.
Korn, a couple other groups.
Yeah.
And
It's,
Yeah.
and so it's something that, like, when you first get in there, before you do turn on whatever you want to listen to or whatever, your radio is going to come on. So then you're going to need to change that. So all of a sudden, maybe something catches you, that song, and then you're like, oh man, that's that one song, or what is this song?
Yeah.
What is this song playing? But that's why there's so many different radio stations, because everybody has their favorite music.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when people say, you guys play the same songs over and over, how many times has Sweet Home Alabama been played on any radio station in the world?
Right.
Exactly.
Well, we're on a rap station.
Well, yeah, I know.
Radio's more like when you're around home.
Yeah.
The CD satellite player, that's like if you're going on a trip, because like going from here to Delta Junction,
Right.
you hit that dead spot where you can't hear
You're right.
Ain't a damn
that,
thing
it's
playing.
like if I'm going down to Anchorage, I'm flipping on the CD player or something like that. I mean, way back in 2011, I was going to my new duty station in Fort Hood, and I've been listening to my CD player for about 3 or 4 hours, and I'm coming down to the Oklahoma-Texas border, and I flip on the I'm like, I wonder if there's anything going on, so I flip on the radio. It's like near the top of the hour when they do news. First thing I hear is mass shooting at Fort Hood. I'm like, I'm going to spend the night in Waco.
Right.
Wow.
And so when we mix it up with, we have news minutes, once an hour on different stations, and and again, it comes down to informing, entertaining, engaging, and relating, but also playing the music. That's why they're there, for that music, because they like that music, So that's why I always tell them, it's funny because, everyone has a demographic, so say X Rock. That demographic is probably 29 to 52-year-old males, and that's kind of that demographic, The River, you would probably go from 34 to 70-year-old, males and females, so you fit the music to the demographic. And I'm going to talk about things that relate to that, but also I spend more time. There's never a break that I don't do that starts out with something that's happening in Fairbanks.
Right.
So I'm going to inform you about what's going on so that you can go. And I'm going to give you tickets to go because I want these events to happen. And I want people to be able to afford to go because you want to go to an Ice Dog game, that's $25 through the door. Not everybody can afford to take their family. So if I can give you tickets and that gets you there, if I can get you to a Nanook hockey game, if I can get you up to a Nanook basketball game, because I want people to support our local sports teams. And I know it's expensive. Times are tough, especially in the wintertime. I got to fill my fuel tank.
Yep.
How am I going to take 4 kids to go to the basketball game because then they're all going to want to eat? You know what? I'm going to get you and all your 4 kids in the door.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
So that's one of the things that I love that I've been able to do is help people afford things. And that's why we also do like our 50-50 Friday thing. We have half price deals and we do our radio auctions and we have amazing deals to help save people money because we get it. We get it.
Right. Hey, so the Great American Hero plug that you guys do, the Jeff Bezos thing that you guys do, are those something local, or are you on the internet finding those specific commercials and bringing them in?
So
because those things have me rolling, especially the Jeff Bezos one.
We have prep services, what we call it. So in radio, we work on basically, it's called barter. Everything is trade out. So somebody has a prep service that comes up. We call those bits, okay? So they produce them someplace in Hollywood or New York.
Oh, okay.
So we subscribe to their service, and I get those, but no other station in our market will have those.
Okay.
So you don't get to hear it on a competing station's thing.
Gotcha.
So we get those, and in turn, we give them 6 minutes a day of their commercial play.
Gotcha.
So they have advertisers that are like, okay, so we want to be with you. So like you'll hear commercials for Lowe's or maybe Chick-fil-A, you know, places that we don't have here. I'm like, why are they talking about Chick-fil-A? And why are they talking about Popeye's chicken or whatever, you know? And it's like, because that's barter. So yeah, we get those from people, but we also do a lot of stuff. I'll find things and I'll put together bits, you know.
Yeah, I thought you guys had somebody in your studio that was that like creative and was, I'm like, that's pretty slick right there.
Well, we do, like I said, we do some of our own. Glenner is really good at that. He does a lot of different voices, like Trooper Cooper.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Okay, so Trooper Cooper would be him, you know. So people can come up with
there's some F supply.
Yeah, so you can come up with characters and everything, but yeah, to get that kind of quality, and we get a lot of the song parodies. You know, that fit in. So there's people that work, and then we get it every day. So we subscribe to that, and it's a great service to have.
Got you.
And that's what I grew up on radio going, I don't know, how do they do this, man? I want to do that. I want to do that. And I tried to do that.
Yeah.
You know how long that takes to put together? But I was like, I'm going to be in the helicopter and do traffic.
Yeah.
And I gotta put that. Like, that took me an hour to do something that's going to last 90 seconds on the radio. And I go, is that feasible anymore? I'm like, I'm using this.
Nice.
So yeah, I had a kind of a part 2 to my last question. Just talking about technology in general and how it's advanced. You had mentioned something earlier about streaming charts. Can you help me understand how that works? Like how do they get that information, and how does that information get to like DJs like you?
It's basically like an algorithm. So like when you say Alaska Airlines, or you look at a pair of Alaska Airlines tickets, the first thing that pops up on your social media is Alaska Airlines. Or if you're talking to somebody or emailing somebody, there's algorithms, but there's just certain streaming services. So like if you're on Spotify, you know, and people are streaming that, you know, they can track that. You can track all that stuff. So we have the access with our consultants, so they can take a look at that. And it's funny because I'm always like going, why am I not playing the number 3 chart on this streaming? And the number 3 thing on the streaming services is rain sounds that people go to sleep to.
You mean there's a lot of people in Fairbanks that are falling asleep listening to the sound of rain?
Yes. You ever been in a room with someone that they have to listen to a fan or something turning?
Yeah.
It'll be you next. If you do that, that's it. So yeah, somebody started you on that.
He's not lying. I do. I have a fan in my room.
Right.
No, it's Nigerian grade or military grade tinnitus or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of get that. So it's something we just started using in the last year or so. So normally we were kind of going with that media-based charts. And we still do base a lot on the media-based charts because I want you to be able to say that we are a true, we're called a CHR station, and that is a contemporary hits radio station. So it's top 40. That's our focus, and that's what we play. And we play the hits. We're Fairbank's #1 hit music station. That's what we've always been for over 40 years in this town.
Nice.
So that's where we get it. And like I can tell you, I mean, everything has changed so much from the days of, Flow Riders Low. I mean, that go Ushers, We've had dead spots in radio, like, come on, we would need the next artist, And you're going, all right, Ed Sheeran's got an album coming out. Give us a banger.
Yeah.
Nope, it's a sleeper.
Yeah.
Okay, Taylor Swift. It becomes very generic sometimes, but we're always looking for something that's going to be that next big thing, and we're always like, we have not had a clear-cut song of summer probably in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. You know what, though? Now that you mention it, I don't think there was a summer anthem.
Yeah, it's been kind of all over. I mean, like Benson Boone's kind of on the scene now, and he's just getting people because he's backflipping everywhere. Doing his thing. Yeah. So it's just something that's kind of like you're waiting for something to really stand out. But radio can also just be, because when's the last time you went to a record store, bought a full record? It's amazing that artists put out albums anymore.
I know.
People are going to buy them one song at a time, Like Calvin Harris decided a long time ago, because I'm just going to release a song at a time. Right. I'm done in the album business. Then all of a sudden, if you have a song that comes to you and it hits, then you're going, oh, well, now I got to get 13 more songs to put on an album, and I got to come out with an album.
Right.
So, and the radio is kind of that, because it used to drive record sales, and it still does. It drives single sales. It drives streaming numbers and streaming sales. So, and I mean, something will come out and we don't immediately jump on it, because it's like, ooh, that's a flash in the pan. What was that guy, the country guy that just was singing about the government? Remember with the banjo?
North of Richmond?
Yes, north of Richmond. It took a while for that to make its move into country. I mean, even though that was #1 on every streaming service, every streaming chart, because people felt that anthem, and it was like, we're sick and tired of what is going on.
Right.
Well, the only problem is, the nice thing about the albums is there are a lot of albums where they have a lot of good songs that you just can't play on radio.
Right. Yeah. And I was the guy growing up, or just, here, that if you got a VMAX mixtape, you were loving it. People would come, so I would make mixtapes off CDs, and I would actually put in little radio things, like Chris Farley, Fat Guy, and in between songs and things like that, because I'm like, that's what I've always done. Yeah. And then I would make mixed CDs, and it's funny, a buddy of mine that worked up in Prudhoe, and he was a truck driver up there. I gave him a briefcase of cassette tapes.
Yeah.
30 years later, he came by my house and he goes, here, I want to give this back to you. And they were in immaculate shape, and I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. Yeah. I go, except what am I going to do with them? So it's a nice piece of memorabilia.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're an avid fisher. What's your favorite species to go after?
Arctic grayling.
Arctic grayling.
King salmon, but those salmon now, it's almost impossible to find any place that's open to fish for king salmon. But
by the time to get here, they're dead.
There's nothing better than being on the Delta Clearwater, and you're fishing when the hatch goes off, and you match the hatch, and the grayling are going off like popcorn. Yeah. And you got a 3-weight fly rod, and it is bent. There's nothing better, man. There's nothing better.
So they put up fights like that?
Oh, man, you're getting 18.
On a 3-weight fly rod?
Oh, yeah. You were getting 8.
That's like fishing with spaghetti noodles.
Yeah. Okay. So, and just a little rod, just that, and it's just the water, like it lives up to the name. It is absolutely the clearest water. It comes from a fresh spring, so that is an amazing place. If you ever want to go up there, my buddy guides, and he will take you out there. It's the best experience you'll ever have in your life. And like I said, these are hog world-class grayling, but I also love that we have the Upper Chena River. Yeah. You can pull over on the side of the road and you can catch 15 to 18-inch grayling, when the water levels accommodate it. Mm-hmm. One thing that I always do when you go to Chena Hot Springs, you go to the hot springs, the little bridge you cross, right, going to the hot springs?
Yes.
Take your fly rod, take a mosquito pattern, walk down there, you'll catch a fish every single time.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It won't be huge, but...
Yeah, that bridge, there was one time I was coming back from Chena Hot Springs on my motorcycle, and I met a black bear
Right.
So yeah, that was the closest I ever wanted to get to one without a wall between us.
Right. Coolest fish I've ever caught though, because I've been traveling a lot. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go snowbird, and so go tarpon fishing. If you've never gone tarpon fishing, it change your life.
Now, so that's what you did down in Florida, right?
So you in Florida, they migrate, and the guy that we were with was like, all right, man, this could be like our last cast. And I just, the spur of the moment, because I was supposed to go to Yakutat. Well, the water levels and everything in Yakutat on the Seatuck River were not conducive, and my buddies were in Florida. I go, hey, you got a spot? And they go, get down here. So, I mean, that's not easy. It's a full day of flight. Yeah. I got there at like 1 a.m, drove about an hour from Tampa out to Boca Grande, got on the boat at 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
We fished all day. We probably caught, like 12. And tarpon can go anywhere from 30 pounds to 200 pounds.
Oh, good Lord.
You're catching those on a fly rod.
No, this is on spin gear.
Okay.
You can fly rod. You can fly fish for them. That's on my bucket list too.
Have you tried bonefish?
Yes, I have. So the tarpon, the last cast, the guy was like, okay, we're going to go over here to a different area, because there was a bunch of people out in this area. And we start seeing him, and he's like, okay, take this. And so it was a right-handed rod, and so I'm right-handed, and my buddy was left-handed. And so we had just put a crab on it, and he's like, throw it out over there. And so he handed it to me. I threw it out over there, hooked into this one, 6 feet long, 180 pounds. I fought that fish for 90 minutes in 90 degrees.
Ooh-wee.
Incredible. I got a picture of it on my Facebook page. But that was the funnest fish. But yes, I have gone bone fishing.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So here's one you can get like one in your life, I think it is, for salmon shark.
I've caught salmon shark too.
How big?
It was 8 feet, 400 pounds. Unbelievable in Valdez, and that's I got a tattoo on that one on my leg. So I tell you, I love to fish.
So how about like alligator gar?
I've never caught an alligator gar. When we did the bone fishing trip, we were about 100 miles north of Belize. We caught snook, bonefish, and I got a permit. And it was incredible, because those things are so hard to get. You get one chance, and there's nothing like trying when your guy's going 90 yards, to the right, do the strip, and it's just insane. And the wind's blowing at you, and you got sand fleas biting your legs. It's killing you. So yeah, as you can tell, I love to fish.
Nice. Texas, Louisiana, that area.
Yeah, no, I'm always up for everything. Like I said, I'm finding out where I'm going to start snowbirding, because I'm getting to that point.
Yeah. Okay, so how many different markets are you in?
I am only here in Fairbanks, and we have 2 stations down in Anchorage. We have Movin' 105.7, which is an adult contemporary hits. We play anything from the 80s to the brand new hits, and then we have 94.7 alternative Anchorage, which is a station that I love. I love that station. It's so good. So we have the technology that, like I said, so on KWOLF, it's me in the morning, 6 to 10 a.m. And then you got Zach Daniels from 10 till 3.
Yep.
He lives in Anchorage.
Yep.
And then Man at Large lives in Little Rock, Arkansas. And he's 3 to 7. That's afternoon drive.
Yeah. Okay, now, so how long have you known Man at Large?
Oh, man, I told him I was going to shout him out. Man at Large is my radio idol. Yeah. I have known Large now for probably 15, 16 years. Yeah. I worked for him. He used to be the program director for KFAT, and we had a different ownership that owned KFAT. And so he was my boss. He was on here in KWOLF, know, and I had never met him. And it was just so funny, because he'd always talk about football. He was talking about wrestling. He is a WWE crazy man.
And, Detroit Lions is his team, too.
Detroit Lions. Yeah. And then I just remember one break that he did. So there was a girl when Michael Jackson was alive, and he went out on tour. I forget this girl's name. He was like, oh, man, she is so hot. And then I texted him, she is so hot. And he texted me, and he was like, you know I'm gay, right? And I was like, what? So I would have never known in the world. So we have just got the best friends. But he has been in every major market. He was doing mornings in Detroit. He did mornings in Dallas. He's been in Anchorage. So, and then, hats off to that guy, because he had a great gig going in Lansing, Michigan. Yeah. His mom got sick and got cancer. He quit and moved down there to take care of his mom, got into a radio job down there. took care of his mom till she passed, and then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go travel. He traveled, went to Europe for about a year.
Yeah.
Came back, he got down in Little Rock, and I just visited him down there. So
Nice.
he's just a guy, and he's a normal guy too.
Yeah.
He has hit. He didn't just hit the bottom. He hit
Yeah.
the basement of the bottom and found his way out. So praise God for that.
Exactly. You know, I'm gonna tell you what though, because he's the reason why we met, actually, and the reason why that happened is because when I first got here, listening to 98.1, and you guys had an all Prince jam when I first got here in 2018. It was an all Prince jam, man.
Is that right after he died?
So I don't know exactly when.
Right about that period.
That
Yeah.
probably was, because
Yeah.
I put together like this big long blend of his songs. And
Yeah,
everything
and
right
so
after
it
he
was an all Prince party, and so Man at Large, he was on the radio doing radio ads for that event, and he said, "Yeah, bring your mascara, bring your high heels, bring your you know what I'm saying, bring your stilettos, ladies, you too." And I was like, that's my bro right there, man. That's my bro. And so then he would also do like the afternoon he would pose a question and have people call in, and I'm calling in, and I'm like, but nobody ever answers the phone.
Oh, I was answering.
or it's like somebody would answer the phone, and I say, well, can I talk to Man at Large? Well, he's busy right now. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. Wait a minute. And so then you finally let me in on this, you know what I'm saying, on the deal. I'm like, that explains why he never answers the damn phone. But who are those people that are on the air answering his questions? They weren't from Fairbanks.
No, so that there is the magic of radio.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
because there's sometimes like I'm not there, but I'm on the air. Like today, you asked me, so you were just on the air. And no, Saturday is kind of our best of, so we can record just like I can record my show at Anchorage that I do.
Yeah.
And so there's sometimes that I got a doctor's appointment. I'm not going to be in there, but people, you're there. Just like Man at Large, because he engaged you to where it was a question about somebody chiming in going, I can't believe their mama let them do that, or why'd you let your kids do that? And your kids are running around. And you're like, I want to answer. And then I was like, I would go, oh yeah. So then I finally told you, like, what? So that's radio is a bunch of mind games and it's magic. But again, it's funny because people have been like, mad at us because we're not there.
Right.
I'm like, why do I gotta be there?
Look here. I have to admit though, there are some questions that I'm like, oh, I want to answer that question.
Yes.
I'm calling in. And it's like, nah, you didn't make it. I'm like, man, I had a good answer for that question too.
and so with that said, so that's another one of our services that we do have. They have generated phone calls because sometimes like some shows that like want to get interest going.
Yeah.
So they'll start it out with that. So then they'll get a listener to take the call.
Yeah.
I myself personally now, I don't take a lot of phone calls live on the air. One, because it sounds so bad. You're on your cell phone or you're Bluetoothing in through your stereo.
Right.
And the sound quality is just really bad. So by the time I got to fix it all up, sometimes it's just tough. And people love to swear on the air.
I'm telling you, talk normally.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, since you mentioned Prince, fun trivia for you. Y'all remember the movie Fifth Element?
Yes.
Okay. Ruby Rod.
Yes.
That part was originally written for Prince.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
For Chris Tucker.
Yes.
Really?
And Prince turned it down because he thought it was too effeminate.
Okay. Wow. Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You didn't know that. Okay, so because we got to start packing up here at about 2:00 because I don't want to get booted out of here. But you got any more questions?
I have no more questions.
Okay, so because I've got a few more questions. Okay, so you have done a lot of things over 30 years, but you said 30 years ago was when you were a student at UAF on the radio. So what's the time frame of all the things that you mentioned when we first came on air, and then the 30 years ago being a student at UAF?
Well, no, so I wasn't a student. So like I've been full-time radio. So I was still part-time when I was working. I worked at Pepsi for 15 years. So I worked there and I was part-time at the radio station.
Okay.
When I originally started KSUA, that was back, man, that was like early 90s, and I was working at a food warehouse here, a wholesale food distribution place, you know,
Okay.
because we always listen to the radio and I would win prizes and tickets and things like that.
Right over there at Quality.
Yeah, well, it's part of those guys, but yeah, it was a different place called Yes Foods. And so I wasn't a student; it was a student-run station. But they kind of had turned it into almost a commercial. They tried to commercial it at the time, so it just worked out. But now it is a student station, and so like students can work up there, and we encourage them all the time. We go up there all the time and say, hey, you know, once you're done with this, we want people with experience,
Right.
You know, because trying to find somebody with experience is almost next to impossible.
Right.
And I have actually found people that I've either had, they've come in and they've done something like a girl came in to talk about Gambardella's Pasta Bella on my show.
Yeah.
And I get just talking to her and I was just like going, man, I go, you're good. You're really good. And, you know, she told me how to say nochi. I was like, is it Gnochi? You know, Gnoocci. You know, you're a foodie, you know.
Exactly.
That's been a couple of years now because Gambardella's is gone.
Yeah. So this girl came on. And she goes, I've always wanted to do radio. And if somebody tells me I've wanted to do radio, I said, well, come in and I'll train you. And I put her on the air. She ended up going from here to Anchorage and joining a morning show.
Yeah.
She went to Honolulu, was doing a morning show,
Good
and then
Lord.
ended up in Denver and did a big morning show. And now she's in West Virginia doing like a midday thing, but now she's married, has kids. And so I've got like several other success stories like that of people that I've just met
Yeah.
that I know has, you know, got the passion to do this kind of a thing. And it's,
Yeah.
you know, people think it's just easy. You know, it's kind of
Right.
it's tough just to talk and be out there, you know.
Exactly.
And for me, I want to deliver in 90 seconds or less because that's our top 40 thing is like boom, 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 short attention span.
Right.
And songs don't last now like they used to in the past. A song used to last 3-4 months. I mean, if you have a month run, you've done good.
Right.
So, yeah, I forget what the original question
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so anybody who's looking to get into radio, what would be your advice to them then?
I would tell them locally here, and I tell people that all the time when I meet them out, when we're doing live remotes and broadcasts. I meet a lot of people at the job fairs. We do the job fairs at the Frog. And so I'm set up with all these employers, and the first thing they ask me, are you hiring? And I'm always asking, do you have radio experience? And they go, no, but, you know, and I can tell who's either just there to pick up some swag or whatever.
Right.
And I've actually hired some people through that for part-time jobs. I know it's the best part-time job in the world because
Right.
you don't necessarily have to be there. You can
Right.
record your show and have it done. So I encourage people, anybody I meet, go to KSUA, get up there, they will train you, and you'll do an hour show. And the thing for those people up there is they can pick their genre music, they can pick what they want to do. They want to do a heavy metal show, do heavy metal. You want to do all rap?
So do you necessarily have to be a student enrolled up there to participate in that?
No, not necessarily, not at all,
okay.
because I have
All
some DJ friends that have DJ mix shows up there.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, you can go up there and you pitch a show to them, and if they have the time slot open, especially in the summertime,
Yeah.
because a lot of them students leave, so they're looking
yeah.
to fill some airspace. So
Okay.
KSUA is where we all, you know, got our starts.
Okay.
So my end for them was they were a commercial station, but we were volunteer on the air. Like the students are all volunteers, okay?
Right. All right.
So they kept that going, and I was able to still be able to work, and I was able to, you know, do as a volunteer worker.
Got you.
Well, someone got mad and then turned them into the FCC because they were getting commercial revenue, but they weren't paying their people.
Wow.
So they ended up having to back pay all of us, but they were like, pull the plug, and that was the end. So then I was like, I loved radio.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had a brand new baby. I went over to the iHeart station, you know, and they were like, yeah, we could hire you, but it's part-time and it pays $9 an hour.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, man, I can't do it. So I got into the world and I, you know,
Yeah.
did the jobs that I did. And you know, it's great because I did come out of Pepsi with a great retirement and everything, you know.
Okay. All right.
But I always knew. And the reason I got back into radio when I knew it was time was when I went through a divorce.
Yeah.
And they had a contest. It was like, when it was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a big thing. They said, who wants to be a radio DJ?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they got a bunch of sponsors. And so what you had to do, there was a bunch of us and you got eliminated. So you had to go to Jeans Chrysler, do a commercial, you know, do a 30-second commercial in front of a bunch of people. Had to go to the Blue Loon and do a stand-up comedy bit. Had to go on air and do a little bit of a show.
Yeah.
And so I made it into the top 2. And at the time I was like, I just can't fulfill it. I'm like, it was in the middle of stuff. But I got in there part-time, and that opened the door back up for me.
Right.
And I've never looked back. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, radio doesn't pay a lot. But man, I've never been happier and more financially secure. And just the things, for me, being able to get up in the morning every day and go, you know what? I don't mind going to work.
Yeah.
When I worked at other places, I'm like, man, how do I get out of my job? How do I not go?
Right.
How do I call in sick today?
Wow.
And you go home and you're mad and you're upset. You bring that to your family. You bring it to your friends. And I'm a firm believer that, what you do should be 8 hours of something you want to do and something that excites you and something that when you go home, you're like, man, that was a great day.
Right.
Not go home to your spouse and your kids and be like, oh, this person, that kind of thing. So find what you love. And then if you get paid for it, it's bonus.
Exactly.
You'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do.
That's 100% true, man.
That is true, man.
It took me a long time to find that, too.
Right.
It took me a long time to find that, when I was going through all those different things. And it was like, okay. And I used to be like, how's Glenner and Jerry surviving? So then I was like, okay, I see why. And it also opens up the doors because, like I said, we get to go to everything for free, and so we have tickets to everything. So that goes a long way, too, when it comes to your bottom line as well.
Right. Okay, so just to touch real quick, because I know that you're real big into fitness. F&H is your jam. You do a lot of activities. Well, because that's your main gym, right?
That's my main gym. Yeah.
Okay, so talk a little bit about F&H. Give them a shout out. Shout out to F&H. I need to get in there with Ken though, because he looks like he's having some fun, ladies. You guys doing a good job.
Well, I can say this just so people know that it's like, if you want to come and have a fun time and work out, because
you've been doing it for years.
I started 10 years ago.
It wasn't a New Year's resolution, and then February you're like, nah.
It was 10 years ago, and I was in a tough spot. I had a buddy that ended up getting Lou Gehrig's disease, and he passed away, and so I was kind of going through I wasn't the best friend I could have been, even though that we traveled everywhere. And I traveled the world with him. He lived more in 5 years with Lou Gehrig's disease than most people have lived in their lives. So, I got to shout him out for that. Right. But I was in a dark spot. Mm-hmm. And I put on weight. I was 240 pounds.
Oh, good Lord.
And I was not living healthy, and I was drinking, and I was not happy. Some friends said, hey, you should come out here and try this out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right. But I'm also, have been an athlete and played sports and everything all my life. So I went out there and I tried this thing. I thought it was going to kill me. But the vibe and the music and the atmosphere and the supported people were like, I was like, wow, this is something I've never experienced before. But their only studio was in North Pole. And I was like, man, I'm going to drive out to North Pole. And I was like, you know what? I need to do something.
Right.
And I kept with it. They opened up a studio in Fairbanks. And they've had 2 studios in Fairbanks. They had a studio in Anchorage. They've closed that one. But it was great because I could go to Anchorage when I was down there doing all my sports and stuff.
Yeah. And
I could spin. So the best thing I can say about them is they changed my life because of the atmosphere of the building. The workout is you can work out at your own level. Okay. So you'll see people doing crazy stuff. It's like going to a yoga class. I go to yoga. I'm not going to do a handstand and elevate,
Right.
I just want to stretch.
Right.
But it's just been... It's the spirit of the community, but the music is always good. It's always something different, and it's a full body workout because you're doing push-ups on a bike, we're doing bands. The cardio is great, but the things changed. Everything is at the end. We do positive I ams.
Right.
I am strong. I am enough. I am worthy.
Gotcha.
You say it, you believe it, and it'll change your life. Man, I'm down. I'm 190 pounds now. So, and I feel I'm 61 years old, and I've never felt better in my life. So take care of yourself.
Kudos, good deal. Okay, so
and there's a lot of beautiful women in that building.
Yes. I would have to agree with you on that one. Jeff, you need to check it out, sir. Okay, so on that note, you guys good to go?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, so last question we ask all of our guests. What's your why?
My why?
What's your why?
Of what I do, or
of why you do what you do, when you do what you do?
The reason I do what I do is because it brings me absolute joy.
Okay.
And I just want to clarify that none of us are in this because I want to be a famous person.
Right.
I want to be a normal guy walking into the grocery store. I do this because it fuels my passion. It's opened up many, many doors. It's just something that I love doing.
Right.
And when I got into radio, when I was working corporate jobs, I missed so many of my son's things at schools.
Right.
Academic awards, plays, whatever.
Right.
My daughter, I didn't miss a single thing of hers.
Right.
From her getting, her achievement awards in kindergarten graduation,
Right.
her recital, her playing the violin.
Right.
You had a program, I was there. And it opened up the doors to where I've coached all my kids in basketball and everything like that. So
Yeah.
it's just part of who I am.
Right.
And, but like I said, I'm a guy that's just, you run into me at Vehmeier, I'm just like you, but I do what I do because it's something I've always loved,
Right.
and I feel completely blessed that I've been able to do it.
Right.
And I think when I die, that people remember me for
Yeah.
something that I may have said, because I've had people call. So just so people understand, when you're doing radio, you're sitting in a padded room all by yourself.
Right.
There's nobody there. I have no idea what your reaction is. Somebody might come up to me 6 months later and go, man, I remember when you said this.
Right.
Or when you did this, I was dying. He goes, you changed my whole day around. And there's also sometimes where, I can relate to you and something that might bring you out of a dark place.
Right.
And someone goes, you know what, you said something and it changed me.
Right. Right. Exactly.
That's about why.
Good deal. Good deal. Okay. So on that note, that's going to end this second segment of our
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir. Go
Because
ahead.
none of you guys asked me.
What's up? What's up?
Because a lot of people think that you get in radio because you're going to do it for the women, okay? And you're going to meet a bunch of women. Sometimes you do. My one woman story. We did a thing. It was a KWOLF cruise. It was a party cruise. It was a Jersey Shore crew on the old Tannernaw Chiefs boat that sunk out there.
Yes.
So we did some cruises out there. And we bumped them in and broke the ceilings down. They were rowdy cruises. Had some girl come up, and some guy, she's like, "Where's VMAX? Where's VMAX at?" And it's Johan. He goes, "He's over here. You want to meet him?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, why do you want to meet him?" She goes, "I just want to fuck his voice."
Oh, wait. That's what I'm talking about.
I love it. So, back to the old joke. It's like, I have a face for radio.
Ooh-wee.
Just so you know, that was a fun night.
Oh, that was some groupie love right there, right? That's that groupie love going on right there, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Talked our way through it.
Ooh-wee. All righty. Okay, so just remember, you can check us out on your favorite podcast app. You can also check us out on YouTube if you want to see the video broadcast that will be posted probably later on tonight. And on that note, I'm Tilden.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Brandon.
I'm VMAX.
And this was 36 the podcast, and we are out. Peace. Podcast 36.